AFC Wimbledon is a professional English association football club based in Kingston upon Thames, London. The club plays in League Two of the Football League, which is the fourth tier in the English Football League system. They play at Kingsmeadow, in Kingston upon Thames, London, a ground which is shared with Kingstonian. The club was founded in 2002 as a result of the decision to allow Wimbledon F.C.'s relocation to Milton Keynes in Buckinghamshire by the Football Association. Wimbledon F.C. was subsequently renamed Milton Keynes Dons in 2004. Wimbledon F.C. supporters strongly opposed the idea of moving and reacted by founding their own club, AFC Wimbledon. In view of its transplanting to Milton Keynes, the majority of Wimbledon fans felt that the original club no longer represented Wimbledon's legacy and traditions, and thus withdrew their support, choosing instead to start a new Phoenix club from scratch. When AFC Wimbledon was formed, it affiliated to both the London and Surrey Football Associations, and entered the Premier Division of the Combined Counties League, which is the ninth tier in English football. In its short history, the club has been extremely successful, being promoted 5 times in 9 seasons, and going up from the 9th tier to the 4th. The only other club considered to have completed this feat is the now dissolved Rushden Diamonds. AFC Wimbledon holds the record of the longest unbeaten run of league matches in English senior football, having played 78 consecutive league games without a defeat between February 2003 and December 2004. AFC Wimbledon hold the distinction of being the first club to be formed in the 21st century to make it into the Football League. History. Formation. On May 28, 2002, the Football Association backed a 3-man independent commission decision to allow Wimbledon F.C. to relocate 56 miles north to the new town of Milton Keynes in Buckinghamshire after claims from Wimbledon chairman Charles Coppell that such a move was necessary in order to prevent the club from going bankrupt. The principle involved in this relocation was unprecedented in English football. By moving in such a way, Wimbledon F.C. were cutting all ties with the area of Wimbledon. Although the club were unable to physically move to Milton Keynes for over a year, their traditional local support dried up almost immediately in protest. On May 30, 2002, a band of loyal supporters of the club led by Chris Stewart and fellow founding members Mark Jones and Trevor Williams, announced plans to create a new club dubbed AFC Wimbledon. On June 13, 2002, a new manager, kit, crest and stadium were unveiled to fans and the media at the packed-out Wimbledon Community Centre. In order to assemble a competitive team at short notice, AFC Wimbledon held player trials on June 29, 2002 on Wimbledon Common, open to any unattached player who felt he was good enough to try out for the team. The event attracted 230 players, from whom the club's squad for their inaugural season was chosen. Non-league football. The Combined Counties League years. In the 2002-03 season, AFC Wimbledon competed in the Combined Counties League Premier Division under the management of former Wimbledon F.C. player Terry Eames, who was appointed as AFC Wimbledon's first manager on June 13, 2002. The first game of the season, a pre-season friendly against Sutton United on July 10, 2002, resulted in a 4-0 loss in front of a crowd of 4,657. Following the game, some AFC Wimbledon fans took part in a pitch invasion. At the end of the season, AFC Wimbledon were placed third in the league and narrowly failed to win promotion to the Isthmian League First Division, despite a strong finish that involved winning their last 11 league fixtures. In 2003-04, AFC Wimbledon won their first 21 league games before a 2-2 draw against Saunderhurst Town on January 10, 2004. Giving them 32 consecutive wins in league games over 2 seasons. The team went on to finish as champions of the Combined Counties League with an unbeaten record for the season of 42 wins and 4 draws. In addition, AFC Wimbledon won the league's Premier Challenge Cup after beating North Greenford United 4-1 in the final on April 30, 2004, completing a double for the season. The Isthmian League years. Dave Anderson was appointed as new manager on May 11, 2004. Under his leadership AFC Wimbledon took their good form into the 2004-05 season, during which they competed in the Isthmian League First Division. They led the division all season, and ran away with the title to seal promotion to the league's Premier Division. The Dons secured another double by defeating Walton and Hersham 2-1 in the final of the Surrey Senior Cup on May 3, 2005. Over the course of the season, AFC Wimbledon set a new record for the longest run of unbeaten league games at any level of senior football in the United Kingdom. The team remained unbeaten for 78 league matches between February 22, 2003 and December 4, 2004. The 2005-06 season proved far more competitive than previous seasons. As after winning their first few games, AFC Wimbledon found themselves struggling to remain in the playoff places. After fluctuating form, they eventually reached the playoffs after a 1-0 win against Anderson's former club, Hendon, on April 22, 2006. However, a 2-1 defeat at Fisher Athletic on May 2, 2006 prevented the club from achieving 3 back-to-back promotions. The Dons once again reached the final of the Surrey Senior Cup, however, this time they were narrowly defeated 1-0 by Kingstonian in a fiercely contested derby. Much of the 2006-07 season was overshadowed by the threat of a proposed 18-point deduction by the FA for the club's fielding of Jermaine Darlington, who, it transpired, had not been registered correctly by the club and had therefore played in 3 games whilst still ineligible. However, this punishment was eventually reduced to a 3-point deduction and a £400 fine on appeal after the FA finally acknowledged that the club had made a simple administrative error. The Darlington affair also resulted in expulsion from the Surrey Senior Cup and the FA Trophy that year. Although AFC Wimbledon did enough to qualify for the playoffs, they once again missed out on promotion, this time as a result of losing 1-0 to Bromley in the playoff semi-final on May 1, 2007. Manager Dave Anderson subsequently left the club by mutual consent on May 2, 2007. Terry Brown was appointed as the new AFC Wimbledon manager on May 15, 2007. During 2007-08, he led the club to promotion to the Conference South in his first season in charge, a feat which predecessor Dave Anderson had proved unable to achieve, having lost 2 consecutive playoff final opportunities in the previous 2 seasons. The Dons made steady progress throughout the season, qualifying for the playoffs after finishing 3rd in the league. AFC Wimbledon beat AFC Herentchurch 3-1 in the playoff semi-final on April 29, 2008 and went on to triumph 2-1 over Stainstown in the playoff final on May 3, 2008. The conference years. AFC Wimbledon spent most of the 2008-09 season near the top of the league table, eventually finishing as champions and earning promotion to the Conference Premier after defeating St Albans City 3-0 on April 25, 2009. The match set an attendance record of 4,722 for Kingsmeadow, which at the time was full capacity. The 2009-10 season was the club's first in the Conference Premier, in which they finished 8th, 14 points short of the playoff zone, representing the first season in which the club had failed to make the top 5 in the league table. In 2010-11 AFC Wimbledon finished as runners-up of the Conference Premier, qualifying for the playoffs. The Dons faced Fleetwood Town in the playoff semi-finals, whom they thrashed 8-1 on aggregate. AFC Wimbledon won 2-0 in the first leg and thrashed Fleetwood Town 6-1 in the second. This aggregate scoreline set a record as the largest winning margin recorded since the Conference Premier first introduced the playoff system at the beginning of the 2002-03 season. In the playoff final at the City of Manchester Stadium on May 21, 2011, in front of a crowd of 18,195, AFC Wimbledon beat Luton Town 4-3 in a penalty shootout after the match had ended 0-0 in extra time. The victory resulted in promotion to the Football League for the first time and represented the club's 5th promotion in 9 years. The club's achievement of attaining league status after just 9 seasons of existence is considered to be one of the fastest ascents for a new club since automatic promotion to the Football League first commenced in the 1980s. AFC Wimbledon also hold the record of being the first club to be formed in the 21st century to make it into the Football League, making them the youngest club in the Football League by some distance. Football League, League Two. The club competes in Football League Two. The 2011 Euro 12 season marked AFC Wimbledon's first in the Football League. The team started the season well, winning 7 out of their first 12 matches, but failed to keep the momentum going and had a poor run, eventually finishing the season ranking 16th, 10 points clear of the relegation zone. The 2012 Euro 13 campaign marked the 10th anniversary of AFC Wimbledon's inaugural season. After an abysmal start to the season, manager Terry Brown was sacked on September 19, 2012 along with assistant manager Stuart Cash, with AFC Wimbledon sitting just above the relegation zone. First-team coach Simon Bassey took over as caretaker manager with immediate effect. Bassey was in charge just 4 matches, however, before former Wimbledon player Neil Ardley was appointed as Terry Brown's permanent replacement on October 10, 2012, naming former Watford and Cardiff City teammate Neil Cox as his assistant manager. On December 2, 2012, AFC Wimbledon faced Milton Keynes Dons in the second round of the FA Cup, in the first ever meeting between the two sides following the controversial uprooting and relocation of Wimbledon F.C. to Milton Keynes, ending as a 2-1 defeat for AFC Wimbledon. The Dons secured their Football League status on the final day of the 2012 Euro 13 season, despite having started the day in the relegation zone, by beating Fleetwood Town 2-1 at Kingsmeadow on April 27, 2013. Failed match-fixing plot. Following newspaper reports, an investigation was launched by the National Crime Agency, and subsequently jailed 2 players and businessman, Krishna Ganeshan, Chan Sankaran and Michael Boateng, a Whitehawk FC player. Moses Swabu was similarly charged in January 2014. They were convicted of conspiracy to commit bribery for a failed plot to fix a game between AFC Wimbledon in Dagenham and Redbridge on November 26. It is believed that the case may be part of wider Singaporean match-fixing syndicate which Europol and other investigations have uncovered. Crest and Colours. The crest is based on the coat of arms of the municipal borough of Wimbledon, which features a black double-headed eagle in reference to a legend that Julius Caesar once made camp on Wimbledon Common, this symbol being his own attributed coat of arms. It is designed to replicate, as far as possible, the crest of the original Wimbledon F.C. to reflect the fact that AFC Wimbledon see themselves as a continuation of the club that existed before relocation and rebranding as MK Dons. The club wished to preserve Wimbledon's legacy and traditions for loyal fans who felt that the move had isolated the club from its roots and its community to such an extent that it no longer bore the hallmark of the club that they had once supported, and that AFC Wimbledon was its spiritual, if not legal, successor. The colours that were chosen for the AFC Wimbledon kit were the royal blue and yellow associated with the rise of the original Wimbledon FC to the top of the Football League. The first kit ever used, during the pre-season friendlies of 2002, consisted of a blue shirt, white shorts and white socks. Since then the home kit has always been predominantly blue with yellow detailing. The away kit used between 2002 and 2004 was white, however since then it has usually been predominantly yellow with blue detailing. To mark their first game in the Football League on August 6, 2011 against Bristol Rovers, the team wore a white and blue commemorative kit based on that worn by the original Wimbledon FC. During 1977 and Euro 78, in order to remember their own first season as a member of the Football League, in the old 4th Division. To prevent copyright infringement, a single blue stripe replaced the 3 trademark stripes of the Adidas original, and the shirts were emblazoned with a modified crest for the occasion. Sponsorship and kit manufacturer. AFC Wimbledon have been sponsored by computer games developers Sports Interactive, creators of the Championship Manager and Football Manager series, since the club's inception in 2002. The Football Manager logo features on the home kit whilst the SI logo appears on the team's away strip. SI Managing Director Miles Jacobson said of the sponsorship deal, "We are huge supporters of grassroots football. Most of us play grassroots football at some level. and we know that that is where the stars from tomorrow are going to come from. The idea for Sports Interactive sponsorship came from Nick Robinson, who was an employee at Eidos, Sports Interactive's then publishers. However, Eidos were not willing to fund the deal, and so Sports Interactive found the cash themselves. Paul Strank Roofing Limited first became a sponsor of AFC Wimbledon in 2006, Mr. Strank being a lifelong Wimbledon F.C. supporter. In the summer of 2008, in one of the club's biggest ever sponsorship agreements, the main stand at Kingsmeadow was renamed the Paul Strank Stand in honor of one of AFC Wimbledon's biggest benefactors. The kit used by the club in its inaugural pre-season in 2002 was manufactured by Umbro. However, from the 2002-03 season onwards the kit has been manufactured exclusively by Wimbledon-based company Tempest Sports. For this reason the South Stand at Kingsmeadow was known as the Tempest N between 12 August 2005 and 23 July 2013. On February 11, 2014 the club announced that their long-standing agreement with Tempest Sports would come to an end, and a 4-year deal was signed with British kit maker Admiral Sportswear to supply the club's playing kits and training wear from the 2014-15 season onwards. In November 2013 American author and YouTube personality John Green stated that he would be pledging the advertising revenue from his AFC Wembley's series of matches on FIFA 14 to support the club. On January 7, 2014, John Green officially agreed to sponsor AFC Wimbledon. Mascot. From 2000 to June 2003, the original Wimbledon FC had used a womble named Wandle, named after the local river Wandle, as a club mascot. However, in light of the controversy over the moving of the club to Milton Keynes, the license to use the character was not renewed. In 2006, AFC Wimbledon agreed a licensing deal for a new mascot to represent the club, once again choosing the character of a womble due to their famed association with Wimbledon Common. After a naming competition in which the final name was chosen by the womble's creator Elizabeth Beresford herself, the club announced that the new womble would be known as Hayden after Hayden's Road, the nearest railway station to Wimbledon FC's original home ground, Plough Lane. Hayden's first ever appearance at a home game was on August 26, 2006 at a 1-1 draw with Boreham Wood in the Isthmian League Premier Division. He made his on-field debut as a substitute in the Wimbledon Heroes v Chelsea Legends game on May 7, 2007. He wears the team's current home strip at Kingsmeadow fixtures, where he can be found every Saturday wandering around the terraces entertaining and encouraging fans. He has taken part in numerous events in order to raise money for charity, including running the London Marathon in 2010 and taking part in the Mascot Grand National, in which he finished 19th in 2009. On September 9, 2012, Hayden helped raise funds for the Children's Liver Disease Foundation by taking part in the AFC Wimbledon Mascot Triathlon on Wimbledon Common. The event raised over £600 for the charity thanks to donations and sponsorship from local businesses. Stadium. The club play at the 4,850 capacity Kingsmeadow in Kingston upon Thames. AFC Wimbledon ground share with Kingstonian, with the Dons being the landlords and Kingstonian the tenants. At the end of the 2011 Euro 12 season, AFC Wimbledon commenced work on building a new 1,000 capacity all-seater stand to replace the existing Kingston Road end. This was completed by the 13th October 2012 game against Cheltenham Town, which saw an attendance of 4,409. The new stand was named the North Stand before being renamed the Nunsham Stand following a sponsorship deal. The work increased the stadium capacity to approximately 4,850 with 2,265 seats. It is AFC Wimbledon's long-term ambition to relocate to a stadium, with a capacity around 10,000, in the London borough of Merton, where the original Wimbledon FC played at Plough Lane between 1912 and 1991. On August 7, 2012, AFC Wimbledon released a statement in which they announced their intent to return to their spiritual home of Plough Lane, 21 years after the original Wimbledon FC last played there on May 4, 1991. However, since the original Plough Lane was demolished in 2002 and later converted into a housing development, the club chose the site of Wimbledon Stadium, which is now used as a greyhound track. The proposals include building a stadium with an initial capacity of 12,000 with potential expansion for up to 22,000. It is estimated that the Plough Lane project, which the club believes could take around 10 years to complete, will cost somewhere in the region of £100 million to build on the 5-hectare site. Eric Samuelson announced, "We have entered a competition with other bidders to buy the stadium from current owners, the Greyhound Racing Association, and now we hope to win it. This would be a fantastic next step in our journey. It's not the only site in Wimbledon, but it is our preferred site by some distance." However, Stephen Alambritis, leader of Merton Council, said that although he welcomed the football club's plans for Wimbledon Stadium, he warned they would face competition from other parties. It therefore remains to be seen whether AFC Wimbledon's bid will succeed. Ground purchase and debt. Upon their foundation in 2002, AFC Wimbledon entered into a ground sharing arrangement with Kingstonian to play home fixtures at Kingsmeadow in the neighbouring borough of Kingston upon Thames. Kingsmeadow had been the home of Kingstonian since the club moved there in 1989 from its traditional Richmond Road ground. However, the club had hit major financial difficulties following relegation from the conference. Administrators sold the club, including the lease to the stadium, to businessman Rajesh Khosla and his son, Anup. The Khoslas subsequently transferred ownership of the stadium away from the club and into separate subsidiary companies privately owned by the Khosla family, in a move widely seen as asset stripping. After an SGM, it was felt by the AFC Wimbledon Board of Directors that securing ownership of Kingsmeadow would safeguard the ground for the future of both clubs. In March 2003, the Dons Trust members voted to purchase part of the lease for Kingsmeadow, and in June 2003 the contract for buying the lease to the stadium was agreed with Rajesh Khosla. £3 million needed to be raised. This purchase took place a few weeks before the proposed formation of the Kingstonian Supporters Trust, which AFC Wimbledon Supporters Trust had been advising. That trust itself would have considered purchasing the lease to the ground had it been able to raise the funds. Various innovative methods of fundraising meant that the debt to Mr. Khosla was steadily reduced. On March 30, 2006, a Dons Trust meeting was held at which a majority voted to accept a commercial loan from Barclays Bank in order to clear the outstanding debt to Mr. Khosla, which was at a much higher rate of interest. On November 24, 2006, a statement on the website finally confirmed that the club had taken the Barclays loan, and had repaid Mr. Khosla in full. Although the club has now settled its debt to Mr. Khosla, around £300,000 is still owed in the form of the commercial loan, with a further £300,000 to Dons Trust bond euro holders. The club continues to work on new ways of fundraising to clear the debt once and for all. Meanwhile, the future of the ground is secured as a home venue both for AFC Wimbledon and equally importantly for Kingstonian FC. Kingstonian leased the ground at a nominal rate, paid for in part by the proceeds of an annual pre-season friendly between the two clubs, the Trevor Jones Memorial Trophy. However, AFC Wimbledon ceased to take part after 2008. From then on the competition was to take place between Kingstonian, Woking and a squad from Fulham. Ownership and legal status. AFCW plc was placed under the ownership of the Dons Trust, a supporters group which is pledged to retain at least 75% control of that ownership. In 2003, a minority interest was sold in a share issue in order to finance the purchase of Kingsmeadow, the ground that AFCW part-owned with Kingstonian. Given the circumstances of the club's formation, this decision raised concerns among some members but was quickly accepted. The Dons Trust is an industrial and provident society registered with the Financial Services Authority as Wimbledon Football Club Supporters Society Limited. This is not to be confused with Wimbledon Independent Supporters Association, although WISA has as one of its stated constitutional aims to purchase shares in AFC Wimbledon's holding company. The chief executive is lifelong fan Eric Samuelson, a retired accountant, who carries out his full-time duties in return for the nominal sum of £1 a year, because it sounded posher than £1. Community work. The club places very great emphasis on its role as a social focus for the entire local community, and part of this role is to offer the chance to play football to all. For this reason AFC Wimbledon established the Community Football Scheme in 2004. On May 1, 2010, AFC Wimbledon's Community Football Scheme was awarded the FA Charter Standard Community Club Award, the highest graded award attainable in the FA Charter Standard Club Programme, in recognition of the club's outstanding coaching facilities in the local community. The club offer a number of different football courses open to children of any ability aged for €14, where they can learn new skills and develop their confidence and talent in a fun and enjoyable coaching environment, receiving quality coaching from FA-qualified coaches. The club aim to reach as many children as possible through their football and multi-sports program by having vital links with their surrounding boroughs, most notably Milton and Kingston, which has allowed them to become one of the main providers of sports coaching in their local community. AFC Wimbledon also offers a schools coaching program in Milton, Kingston and neighbouring boroughs. The club look to encourage a healthy and active lifestyle for both primary and secondary school children through football and a range of other sports. The sessions are run with an emphasis on learning, development and health awareness in a fun coaching environment. On March 15, 2012, coaches from the CFS, in partnership with the Football League's main sponsor npower, engaged in a community outreach scheme promoting the FA's Respect campaign to school pupils. Nearly 2,000 children aged 10 and 11 were taught how abusive verbal and physical behavior on the pitch to both players and referees should never be tolerated under any circumstances. The aim of the nationwide Respect scheme in schools is to eradicate racism, homophobia, violence and dissent from the next generation of footballers and supporters. On March 27, 2012, AFC Wimbledon became the first football club to be presented with the Prime Minister's Big Society Award by Minister for Sport and the Olympics Hugh Robertson for outstanding contributions to the local community. The club was recognised for the honour because it offers a wide range of community development schemes including 19 youth and women's teams, school health and sport projects and a range of innovative activities, including a stadium school to help children get to grips with maths by using football as a teaching aid. Congratulating AFC Wimbledon on receiving the award, Prime Minister David Cameron was quoted as saying, accepting the award, Eric Samuelson, Chief Executive of AFC Wimbledon stated, Players, current squad, as of July 8, 2014. Note, flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. Out on loan, note, flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. For youth teams see AFC Wimbledon Development Squad and Academy. Player of the Year, Club Captains and Top Scorers. The following table shows players who have previously been selected to be club captain, have been the Wimbledon Independent Supporters Association Player of the Year and have been the player who scored the most league goals in a season in chronological order, most league appearances and goals, as of May 7, 2014. The following table shows players who have made 100 league appearances or more for the club and players who have scored 25 league goals or more for the club in descending order. The following table shows players who have made 50 league appearances or more for the club in descending order, includes appearances made whilst on loan. Notable former players. As part of WISA's campaign to reclaim the history of Wimbledon Football Club for the community of Wimbledon, the Wimbledon Old Players Association was formed in 2005. Membership of WOPA is open to all former Wimbledon FC and AFC Wimbledon players and managers. Among the 60 founding members were Glenn Mulcair, who scored AFC Wimbledon's first ever goal in 2002, and Kevin Cooper, who remains the club's all-time highest goal scorer with 107 goals between August 2002 and May 2004, as well as retaining the title for the most goals scored in a season with 66 during 2003-04. Others that joined included some of the legends of the old Wimbledon FC such as John Fashanu, Dave Besant, Ifan Ekokyu, Neil Sullivan, Dave Bassett, Wally Downs, Marcus Gale, Neil Ardley, Alan Kimball, Andy Thorne, Roger Joseph, Dickie Guy, Alan Batsford, Roger Connell, Ian Cook, Roy Law and Steve Galliers. On July 16, 2006, WOPA fielded a team in the Masters football tournament at Wembley Arena, with AFC Wimbledon's backing. The team included Carlton Fairweather, Scott Fitzgerald, Marcus Gale, and Dean Holdsworth. In June 2010, Vinnie Jones, another former player of Wimbledon F.C., donated his 1988 FA Cup winners' medal to the fans of AFC Wimbledon, wishing them all the best for the future. The medal is on display at Kingsmeadow. Management.